A very good morning, everybody. Today we are on the fourth day of our presentations. In the morning session, we have 16 presentations. Today we have quite a unique topics on which all the students are going to make presentations. As a part of critical theories, Western contemporary critical theories, film studies, the presentations are being made. Let me share the topics of the morning session of presentations. Okay, we'll start with KUMKUM's presentation on feminist film theory, the male gaze and representation of women in cinema. It will be followed by KHUSHI RAVIYA's presentation on Netflix and the politics of streaming, shaping film and TV criticism. TRUPTI's presentation on language, image, and ideology, a Derridean reading of Advertisements, PARATHIV's on temporal disruptions and non-linear montage in contemporary Indian cinema, reconfiguring narrative time. JYOTI's on cinema as social critic, a study of Article 15, Gully Boy and Jallikattu. Colon, you are still making a mistake in putting a colon there. Yesterday also we reminded there is no space before colon, a space after the punctuation marks. RUTVI's on queering the Anthropocene, Ecofeminist and Marxist intersections in global film narratives. BHUMI's on queering the digital body, body shaming, social media, and digital humanities. DHRUVIKA's on queer theory and postcolonial studies, hybridity and identity. Bhargav Makwana on false consciousness in the digital age, a Marxist and Althusserian critic. Sanket Vavadia on enriching and developing Marxism in the 21st century in various aspects. Now, this various aspects you'll have to try to see if you can still make it more specific. KHUSHI Goswami on algorithmic consumer culture in the digital humanities. KHUSHI Makwana on Marxism, feminism, and the political economy of gender in post-colonial settings. Krishna Vyas on Marx's class theory and Althusser's concept of ideology. Jay on beyond anthropocentrism, eco-criticism, and the decentering of the human. Krupali, eco-deconstruction, reading climate change through Derrida and Timothy Morton. And the last one will be by Divya on the ethics of data in the humanities. Are we losing the human in digital humanities? So we have a very interesting presentations, very attractive also. Generative AI is helping you to make a very attractive titles. We hope that the content also will be equally attractive. It has aroused a curiosity to know that what content will be there within this topic. We hope that your presentation will satisfy the curiosity to know all these things. So let us start with the first presentation by KUMKUM.
So hello everyone, I'm going to, in today's presentation, I'm going to discuss about the feminist film theory, the male gaze and the representation of women in cinema. Academic information, table of content, research question was how does feminist film theory reveal the way cinema construct, challenge, and reshape the representation of women, the male gaze, and the intersectional perspective across global and Indian films. Hypothesis like films that resist the male gaze and the highlighting women's perspective, desire and agency challenges traditional gender stereotype by including intersectional voice and the film centered storytelling. Such film can empower women on a screen and influence audience to critically engage with the patriarchal norms. Moreover, feminist filmmaker techniques such as the female gaze, the subjective framing, and the emotionally driven narratives reshape spectatorship and the promote empathy, equality, and the cultural understanding across global and Indian cinema. Introduction, like feminist theory focusing on how women are represented in a global and Indian cinema. It examines the male gaze like objectifying women, and the female gaze showing women's emotion, agency, and perspective. It also highlighting feminist filmmaking technique, intersectional representation and woman-centered storytelling in woman like a Thuppered Queen and a Portrait of Lady on Fire. The presentation discuss how these films challenging stereotypes empower women and the influence audience understanding of gender roles. Definition and importance of feminist film theory, like what is the meaning of like gaze, like studies how cinema construct or challenge gender roles, also use psychoanalysis, semiotics, and the cultural theory to expose bias. So feminist film theory examines how film create or challenge gender roles. It use idea from psychology and cultural to show hidden bias. This theory helps audience to notice stereotypes and encourage better representation of women in a movie, like male gaze. So women are objects of a visual pleasure of men. Bias on voyeurism and the fetishism, presenting women through a masculine lens. So the male gaze is when films show woman as an object for a man's pleasure. The camera, story, and audience all see through the man's point of view. For example, in James Bond's movie, women are glamorized but not fully developed as the characters. Female gaze resistance, like show women as a subjects with agency and voice, emphasizes empathy, connection, and mutual respect. Women viewers can identify with the inner experience, not just a beauty. So female gaze show woman as a subject with like feeling, choice, and voice. Movie like a Piano, Lipstick Under My Burqa, Portrait of Lady on Fire. It's focused on woman's inner world, desire and strength, rejecting objections. A historical evolution of feminist film theory, like early cinema, women are represented as romantic, domestic, in a golden age, like beauty and dependence. Feminist era, movies publisher, visual pleasure, and narrative cinema. Also, as a contemporary era, diverse filmmaker challenged the gaze. Uh, in early cinema, like a woman were mainly romantic or like a domestic, like Hollywood's golden age focus on a glamour. Feminist filmmaker in the 17th onwards, like Thelma and Louisa, gave women control over their stories. Today, films like Queen or Lady Bird continue this trend. Technique in cinema, like camera angle, framing, lighting, editing, like camera angle low, high angle show power of vulnerability, like framing, close up or fragmented body shot, sexualize a woman. Lighting, soft versus harsh, lighting change perception. Editing, like slow motion, emphasize male desire. Feminist filmmaker use neutral lighting, subjective framing, POV shots. Also, like a thopper focusing on Amrita's emotion. Portrait of a Lady on Fire, like a woman seeing a being seen equally. Global cinema focus, like uh, uh, Thelma Louisa, which woman rebel against the patriarchy, challenge male dominance in society. The piano, silence and gaze as a source of female empowerment. Woman control narrative through emotional and body language. A portrait of a lady on fire, like a mutual female gaze, emphasize concern, desire, and the emotional connection. Reject objection, like Roma, highlighting working class women's resilience and the dignity show women's labor and care as a central narrative element. Indian cinema focus on like male gaze. Bollywood often idealize woman as a beauty icon or a romantic object. For example, in a Sholay, like a film, female characters serve like a male heroes narratives. Reasons like Queen emphasizes self-discovery and independence over romance. Thappad criticize normalization, patriarchal behavior, and domestic violence. Kahani, woman drives narratives, intelligence over appearance. Fire, like challenge heteronormativity and the male dominant narratives. Visual analysis and scene comparison, like a male gaze. James Bond series also emphasize the camera angle and emphasize camera angles and fragmented body shots, slow motion, and female feudality, as well as like male gaze uses objectified angles, like in also we see in a James Bond series, like i- also female gaze, like a portrait of a lady on fire, like camera follow woman's emotion, not physical beauty, like Kahani emphasizing strength, intelligence, and agency rather than appearance. Impact on audience, like recognize gender bias and stereotype in media, like encourages critical viewing, questioning narratives that reinforce patriarchy, inspires filmmakers to present women as a thinker, leader, and creators, promotes empathy, equality, and cultural understanding through the storytelling. For example, viewers of Thelema and Luisa or Lipstick Under My Burqa learn to see woman as an active subject, not passive object. Also, what is unsaid that movie, like a woman's real perspective often ignored. Stories told about them, not by them. Film rarely show woman looking back or interpreting the world. Objectification is a normalized, female subjectivity absent. Intersectional voice, like woman of color, queer woman, working class woman, often invisible. For movie like Thappad highlighting how women's experience or domestic violence and emotional neglected are often ignored, showing everyday patriarchy that remains unsaid. Why it matters? So silence, it shows the power, what is unsaid, relevance, hidden, and structure of patriarchy. Like feminist film theory exposes exclusion and promotes inclusion, empowers marginalized voice. For example, Friday's silence in film, transformation, spectatorship, audience learn to read subtext and the critic visual. Conclusions of feminist film theory reveals the hidden power structure in cinema and how women are often objectified through the male gaze. By highlighting what is unsaid, their perspective, intersection, voice, and the everyday struggle, film can give more agency and visibility. Contemporary global and Indian films, such as A Portrait of a Lady on Fire, Lipstick Under My Burqa, and The Thappad, show women as a thinker, doers, and creators rather than objects. The future of feminist film theory embraces the digital streaming platform and multi-gaze, transforming spectatorship and promoting critical viewing, empathy, and culture understanding. So references, thank you. If you have any question, then ask freely.
So, Kumkum, my question is that how does the female gaze challenge the traditional portrayals of women in cinema?
Uh, so the female gaze show as a woman is a woman have their feeling, their own choice. They have to know what they have to do, and they are not object for men only. So yeah.
So, Kumkum, my question is how do feminist filmmaking techniques influence audience views on gender and empowerment?
So when female make a film, then she tries to show main character as a woman, and they gave their voice, and they gave their voice, and make a feminist perspective better. Also challenge the stereotype that how she can show woman in their movie. So yeah, this is from my side. Thank you.
Why that sound is not going in the speakers when you speak in that mic? When you speak here, you can listen from the speakers, but when you speak from there, why it is not coming up?
Hello, hello,
Hello.
hello,
Yeah, test it again. Test.
hello, hello,
Little bit slow.
hello.
Okay. Okay.
So, hello everyone. My today's topic is Netflix and the politics of streaming, shaping film and TV criticism. This is my personal information. This is the table of contents. So, research question is how has a Netflix streaming model transformed traditional film and television criticism, and what are the political, cultural, and aesthetic implications of this shift? Hypothesis is a Netflix algorithm-driven distribution model priorities viewer engagement over aesthetic evolution and restructuring critical discourse, while the democratized access is also risk homogenizing content and diminishing the role of professional criticism. So introduction is Netflix rise as a global streaming platform has fundamentally reshaped the media landscape, and what began as a DVD rental service in 1997 and evolved into a content producing powerhouse with over 280 million 80 million subscribers by 2024. And this transformation has disturbed the traditional models of films and television criticism in challenging the authority of critics, festivals, and academic discourse, and the shift from human judgment to algorithmic recommendations represent not just a technological change but a philosophical redefinition of how audiovisual culture is valued and understood. And this presentation explore political, cultural, and aesthetic implication of the Netflix platform logic and its impact on critical frameworks. So it's a Netflix origin and evolution. Netflix is an American streaming and production company founded in 1997 by Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph. Is Scottsdale in California, and initially launched as a DVD rental by mail service. And Netflix revolutionized the media consumption by introduction of a subscription based model of prioritizing users, convincing, and choice. In 2007, Netflix transitioned to online streaming and enabling instant access to film and television shows, marking a pivotal shift to digital distribution. And by the mid 2010s, Netflix became a global media powerhouse, producing original content and expanding into over 190 countries. And its evolution from a rental service to a global content creator exemplifies the digitization of globalization of film culture, reshaping how films are culturated and critiqued within film studies. The tradition film criticism is concept map is the critics provided expert analysis and grounded in theory. And festivals are confront pressing and shaped discourse. And exhibition is a theoretical release shaped viewer experience. And these elements fostered rich, localized, and diverse critical ecosystem in emphasizing aesthetic, culture, and context and theoretical depth. Algorithmic curation is algorithm driven curation present challenges related to visibility and diversity. And Netflix recommendations and engine replaces human judgment with predictive analytic, and content is curated based on users behavior, not artistic merit. And this shift flattens aesthetic hierarchies and redefines cultural values. The myths of streaming, infographic breakdown. It's Karen one is three Netflix myths. Binge watching, freedom shaped by autoplay and cliffhangers. Second one is infinite choice is improvement, and catalog is curated and limited. And third one is big data, objectivity, data is a priority and manipulative. This means obscure Netflix control over taste formation and cultural discourse. Uh, Here I take some sketch study. This is a sketch study of the Irishman. Is course the Irishman exemplifies the tension between outer filmmaking and streaming priorities, and despite critical acclaim and 10 Oscar nomination, and Netflix limited theatrical release and refused to share viewership data and hindered cultural analysis. And this series serves as a case study for a studio's financial backing of ambitions and high cost projects that major studios initially rejected, and exploring the real life story of mobster and Frank Sheeran and his alleged involvement in the assassins in Themester Bo's Jimmy Hoffa. Theoretical release debate. Theoretical release are an outdated concept, and Netflix turns on theoretical exhibitions sparked backlash from filmmakers like Rian Jones, and the debate centers on whether cinematic legitimacy and requires theoretical context is streaming suffers. It's a Glass Onion had only 1 week release, and filmmakers advocate for a theoretical engagement, and exhibition shapes viewers' interpretation, and streaming alerts critical reception. Here is a one controversy, Canon's controversy 2017. It's a Netflix entry into canons with Okja and the merry-go-round lead to institutional resistance, and the festival change is ruled to excuse non-theoretical piece and asserting its gatekeeping role. And this case study is about film Roma. Alfonso Cuarón's Roma was crafted was a theoretical exhibition, yet Netflix's streaming first strategy compromised is artistic intent. The film's successful paradoxically highlighted the streaming's limitation for auto cinematography. Before Roma, Netflix had produced original film but had not broken into the higher tier of prestigious cinema and dominated by major studio. To attract top tier filmmaking talent is like Curon, who shot the film in cinematic 65 with immersive sound, and Netflix needed to prove it could provide a platform for awards caliber films. And however, its business model of simultaneous or non-simultaneous streaming and theoretical release clashed with the tradition 90-day exclusive window demanded by major theater chains like AMC and Regal. And it was nominated for 10 academic awards and including Best Picture and won 3 Best Director, Best Foreign Language Film, and Best Cinematography. And algorithm influence is how viewers behavior, and from that their data collection and connect designs. After that, they engagement metrics and new data and repetition. This is a sport game study is illustrates algorithm implication and localization challenges, transformation issue, related thematic meaning, and Netflix interface marginalized profession criticism in favor of viral discussion. Is Squid Game serves as a key case study of Netflix global content strategy, showcasing how a low budget culturally specific production can be achieved viral high value success. This is my conclusion. Netflix streaming model reconfigures film and TV criticism and challenging traditional frameworks while introducing new dynamics of access and control and cultural valuation. By replacing human judgment with algorithmic system, the platform receives how content is produced, distributed, and interpreted, while it's democratize access and expand representation. And it also risks flattening artistic diversity and marginalizing critical depth. As streaming continues to dominate, scholars and critics must develop new methodologies that account for platform politics and data driven aesthetics and the evolving nature of culture legitimacy in the digital age. These are my references. Thank you. If you have any question, then feel free to ask.
So, Khushi, my question is to you that how has Netflix changed traditional film criticism?
It's reduced the influence of professional critics and festivals, and by prioritizing audience and data and engagement metrics, criticism has become more decentralized, often happening through social media trends and rather than formal reviews.
So, Khushi, my question is Netflix democratizing or controlling access to content?
It creates access by making diverse content globally and available, but it also controls visibility through algorithms that favor certain genres or styles to maximize engagement. This is from my side. Thank you.
So today's my topic of presentation is based on a Derridean concept, and through this I will demonstrate that how language, image, and ideology we can deconstruct this thing which Derridean concept. So language, image, and ideology, a Derridean reading of advertisement, table of contents, then my personal informations. Then my research question is how can Derrida's concept of deconstruction, specifically the decentering of the center binary opposition and the supplement, be applied to reveal the unstable and ideological nature of meaning in contemporary advertisement. And my hypothesis is so by applying this Derridean construction of framework to a selection of television and print advertisement, this presentation will demonstrate that the seemingly stable meaning and ideological like centers of gender, success, happiness in this all in advertisement are inherently unstable, contradictory, and often subvert by the advertisement on internal logic and semiotic elements. So introduction. So in the age of saturated with media, advertisement functions as far more than mere sales pitches. They are powerful cultural texts that construct and reinforces pervasive ideology about identity, success, and gender. And this presentation will demonstrate Derrida's critical framework of deconstruction to interrogate and the seemingly stable center of meaning in contemporary advertisement. So by analyzing how ads create and subsequently unrevealed narratives around this masculinity and femininity through internal contradiction, binary opposition, and logic of supplement. So we'll see the inherent instability of this ideological construct and reveal how advertisement shapes and shaped by our deepest social values. So what is deconstruction? Key thinker is Derrida, and core concept is decentering the center, binary opposition, free play of meaning, that meaning is never final, and meaning is created through hierarchical pairs like man, woman, cultural nature. So if we talk about deconstructing masculinity, the old center, we have always portrayed men as authoritarian, power driven. So this all emphasize about our ideology, like in this example of imperial blue, men will be men. So it legitimizes the gaze and objection. And then head and shoulders advertisement, so that using female products risk loss of manhood. So this shows the ideology constructed in our mind. Then this concept of the new center, deconstructed manhood. So as said again, we talk about the complete man. So in Raymond's the complete man shift from machismo to sensitivity and nurturing. Now we will nowadays in many advertisement we will see a portrait of men as sensitive and nurturing, but which is contradiction to the previous times advertisement. This actively calls out bullying and like boys will be boys, this all mentality we have, but through this we can deconstruct this thing. So like one of the best example here, Ariel, it's ad share the load, which promotes that both women and men should work together for household. So deconstructing the ideal woman, like the ideal woman or superwoman myth we have, like which has it all, like successful career, loving family, and personal fulfillment. So this is a constructed ideology, but this reveals the construct inherent flaw. And empowerment is contingent on buying a product, exposes the pressure of fantasy evolve. and when we talk about deconstructing the woman as an object, like it is always objectified when focus is shifted from the mental quality to the physical form. Like woman image through advertisement, we can see. Then these ads rely on strict binary, like active male gaze, passive female object. So by taking this logic to an extreme, the ads deconstruct themselves also. Then ads that deconstruct themselves, like the claim of motorcycle is so stable and maneuverable that anyone can perform extreme acrobatics. So we have example of these also. So the contradiction is like the warning directly negates the aid's core message and making the fantasy of unattainable for the average viewers also. So the center of questioning of pictorial semiotics, like can image create meaning autonomously, or do we always need a language to analyze them? Like language has a double articulation that allows for a structural analysis. Pictures lack a clear or a universal visual, and then like we perceive images as unfied walls before analyzing their parts. So meaning emerges from the visual structure, and elements like colors, mass, basic colors and units, lines and textures combined the create visual syntax that can be analyzed for meaning without words also. So while a picture can be experienced as a self-contained meaning, a full semiotic analysis of how it creates that meaning often required recourse to language as a meta tool. So based on Derridean theory of deconstruction, we can apply that picture's meaning is never fully self-contained because it is always shaped and hunted by the press of language and context. Here I have taken some of the example, like this fair and lovely, now we see it as a glow and lovely. So how language, fairness, glow, then visual, dark, confident, success, binary, we find here successful, failure, fair, dark. So ideology is colorism, classical patriarchy. So what is lacking in previous thing was dark skin success story here, but nowadays it changed. Then this suffixes this ad, like daag acche hote hain. So previously we see many in many ads, like kids play in the ground, and then generally woman or mother washes their clothes. But now in this ad we see both this girl and boy playing. So ultimately it is deconstructing the thing. Then in this imperial blue example, like men will be men. So here the slogan suggests that misbehavior is always instinct part of masculinity. Then as talked previously, Ariel share the load. So why is laundry is always a task of woman's job. Now men is helping their wives. So it shows the changing phenomenon. Then one of the here aid of this carrot lane Tata product, that how through language it connect the emotional part of the public or audience, like this is a gift like a moon for a moon, चांद को चांद के जैसे तोहफा. Through this all language they are ultimately trapping the audience, viewers. Now one of the campaign of this DoE, like what DoE did differently, like use real now DoE has used real women, like different ages, size, colors, instead of professional models. So it challenged the perfect beauty standard common in advertisement, and by this people found it relatable and authentic, and have built it trust on that. So it made DoE stand out from other beauty brands. So ultimately the campaign was a big success, and it proved that showing real beauty sells better than showing perfect unrealistic beauty. So my learning outcomes, like questioning the main message and seeing what is missing in this. Through this we learn. Then we find hidden unfair assumption or stereotype in ads. Then we can look deeper into ads, cultural message we can pick up. Then we can understand how ads can both support and challenge old fashion. Then through this how deconstructions help you become a smarter, more critical viewer of all media. So in conclusion, deconstruction reveals that advertisements are not neutral. They actively shape and normalizing specific idea of gender, success, and identity. The supposed center of meaning, the hyper masculinity man or effortlessly perfect woman are socially constructed, unstable, and often collapse under scrutiny. Advertising is the site of ongoing cultural negotiation where outdated stereotype can be challenged and redefined by more processive narratives. So by learning to undress the ad, we shift from passive consumers to critical readers and decoding hidden assumption and engaging with consumer culture consciously. So ultimately, the most powerful product an advertisement sells it not a brick but a car, cream, a version of ourselves. So when that we have the power to question, deconstruct, and redefine. So these are references I have used for it. Thank you. And now questions are welcome.
So, Trupti, how does deconstruction challenging the notion of a true message in advertising?
So generally we have our pre-assumption or through pre-assumption or it is also made from the advertisement showing us and we are falling into the trap of them. So deconstruction make us able to see the what is constructed throughout the culturally, and through that thing we can redefine them and we can understand the thing from that.
So my question is, how do ads reflect the ideology of consumerism?
Generally advertisements are made basically on consumers mentality. Like sometimes ads also will say that you are what you buy. So basically they trap us into such kind of language and their images and all these things, and through this it reflects the ideology of consumer they took. So this was from my side. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone, I am Parthiv Solanki. Today my presentation topic is temporal disruption and the non-linear montage in the contemporary Indian cinema, reconfiguring in the narrative in time. These are the information, table of content, research question. How do the contemporary Indian filmmaker utilize the technique on non-linear montage such as the continuous the edition, jump, cuts, and temporal ellipse, and the cross cutting, and the constructor temporal disruption, and the reshape the viewers to perspective of the narrative times hypothesis through the strategy use the non-linear montage and the disruptive editing techniques controlling the Indian cinema, transformed to go temporal flow into the stylic, attractive, and if experience where the montage itself become the narrative, engaging, dissolving the boundaries between the past, present, and the embodying times. Introduction. Contemporary Indian cinema intrinsically use the non-linear montage to the manipulate the narrative times. And modern time cinema in the Indian start to the new techniques to change the narrative techniques and times throughout the story. Focus on editing techniques, some cut, cross-cutting, and flashback are the primary narrative tools. Temporal disruption reflect the psychological complexity, memory, and emotional depth. Editing techniques create the rhythmic, expressional, and the non-chronological storytelling. Study the emphasizing the technique over the theory, analyzing the montage as the visual and the temporal languages. The scope include the film Rockstar in the 2011 and Masan 2015 and Jallikattu is highlight the diverse the temporal experimentation. Conceptual background and montage and temporality. Montage is the technique, the art of the editing shot to create the temporal flow, rhythm, and the narrative meaning, and not just continuity. Is the montage is the to the many type of the how to editing the film story and the and this camera throughout this editing of the film. In the non-linear montage, ranging the chronological order to despite the memory, emotion, and the psychological depth. In temporal disruption, editing the strategy such as the jump cut, flashback, flash forward, and top montage the conversational narrative time. And montage visual languages, adding become a tool express the subjectivity, emotion, and affective rhythm. Narrative versus plot time. In the manipulate the use the shape the viewer's perspective on this film storytelling line to how in interesting. This is the image is the editing of film. Historical evolution of the montage in Indian cinema. Classical era in the 1950 to 70th century, linear editing dominated the continuity and the temporal clarity and the prioritization in the Pathar and Panchali in the Mother India is both film. And the parallel cinema in like emergence on the psychological and implical editing, the fragmented the realism like Nadian and the comparative explanation in this present time in the non-linear sequences at the temporal play become a widespread and the contemporary narratives. Technique introduced this jump cut and cross cutting, flashback, flashwood, and rhythmic monotones, and define the new cinematic grammars and the aesthetic goals. The montage shift from continuity editing, expressive the emotional and thematical function, impact on viewers, audience experience time, the fluidity, layered and the psychological immersive, reflective on the mode and subject. A technique of the temporal disruption is the measure of the jump cut, cross cutting, flashback, flashword, and the epical editing and the temporal lobes and critical narrative. Is all are the similar and familiar of the terms. Montage is the temporal and emotional aesthetic culture in Indian cinema. Emotional rhythm. Montage create tempos and intentionally guiding the audience effective and responses. Psychological mapping, editing visually, inner state, memory, and consciousness. Temporal comparison in explain the alter the previous time, check the conducting narrative moments, and the symbolic juxtaposition shows the combine the create the metaphor, meaning, and thematic resonance. In the sometime the right director some timelines of flashback and flashword, and using the some images like sounds through the give a languages through the metaphor, and presenting the some meaning of the unique story. Narrative through the deconstructed non-line editing the paradoxically enhance the thematic and emotional clarity. Viewers the engage monitors and the actively shaping the audience interpretation, making time and particularly experiential. This is the image like cinematic grammar of the time in Indian cinema, and the shot during the and the pacing and the variety shoot the length of the control the rhythm and the emotional intensity. And like the film like both film are connected with this term rockstar and Jallikattu. Temporal literary is the cross-cutting instructional sequences create a similar parallel and narratives. In film like Masan, and sound and temporal tool, music and sound bring the extend the compress the perspective time, linking and present, past and futures. Visually motive in the repeat the imagery, symbolic sequences, and the content the non-linear timelines and cultural imagery. Editing tempo is the also very important to this. Temporal subjectivity is the montage structure and the psychological experience time in the allow the audience to inhabit character, perception, and the cultural context. Technical analysis, adding sound and imaging rhythm. All are the previous I see. The editing, temporal design is like a very important in the film, and the editing like the Aarti Bajaj in Rockstar and Nitin Bed in the Masan film, and the Dipu Joseph in Jallikattu construct the time through the rhythm, transforming, adding in the liner tool into the emotional chrono. In the shoot during the pacing, the alternative between the along the contemplative text and the rapid cleaning cuts and the multiple viewers the theme were perception, blending still and time. Sound monitors and the rhythmic synchronization and transition techniques and effective temporal rhythm. These terms are also connected with this film editing case study in the Rockstar in 2011. Director techniques multiply allies the fragmented the narration editing in the Aarti Bajaj in the contempt and the Alain Mehta and the creating the metaphor, music, and memory of fashion loss. Non-linear narrative storytelling. Also, we find this movie and monotone sequences, elapsed cuts and jumps, sound and images, synchronization by A.R. Rahman music integrated with the visual rhythm transformation, editing, and the audience temporal where the time feels and emotionals. Also, case study by the Masan film also similar there. And Jallikattu also we see the how the timeline we change and this sound, image, visuality, and the cutting of the flash backward, and how the storyline is the continuously go away is the audience attendance, audience perspective in the spectralship, active viewers engagement, and this story how this important to this film line, and this like the old film not this technique uses, but the modern film uses the all these things to audience and viewers to attendance and creative of the mind viewers learning outcomes, comparative techniques and aesthetics. All these things are the overview. All the things like all the techniques are usefully to the make a film in the more visually. Conclusion: contemporary Indian filmmaker use non-linear montage techniques such as the jump cut, temporal ellipse, and cross-cutting, and the editing disturb the chronological story and create the subject time film rockstar Masan and Jallikattu demonstrate how these techniques compare and expand the fragmented event, enhance the emotional depth, psychological realism, and the cultural reason. By the doing so, non-linear montage shaping the viewers to perspective narrative time, transforming the spectatorship into the active engagement with the memory, rhythm, and meanings. These are the references. Thank you. Feel free to ask question.
So my question is, how do contemporary Indian filmmakers use non-linear montage techniques such as jump cuts, cross-cutting, and temporal ellipse, and to disrupt conventional narrative time?
Yes, is the this Indian cinema is the modern time is used through the audience convection in this audience not watch a full movie through some like a similar movie, simple story in flat storyline, not throughout watch the film, but sometimes it's like a Maharaja film, like is the flashback, flash forward. All the storyline are the difference. Uh, uh, like this camera and the storylines and cuttings are all this to create the audience attention to in the cinemas.
So, Parthiv, how do temporal disruption in contemporary Indian films influence audience perception and engagement with narrative time?
Yes, this technique, jump cut and liners and flashback, flash forward, in all this technique used in this modern film, Masans and Jallikattu, to make very effective movies in this modern time, and how the modern story reflect all these things. Okay, this is from my side.
So hello everyone, myself JYOTI MER. Today I am dealing with my presentation topic is Cinema is Social Critique, Article 15, Gully Boy and Jallikattu. This is my personal information, table of contents, and the research questions. What cinematic techniques do these films employ to communicate social critics? How do the Article 15 Gully Boy and Jallikattu reflect the critic caste, class, and gender inequalities in Indian society? And hypothesis: film as a medium of resistance through narratives, characters, and symbolism. These films challenges dominant social hierarchies, exposing caste, class, and gender inequalities. Cinema reflects society. Indian films like Article 15, Gully Boy, and Jallikattu mirror social inequalities and cultural tensions, making cinema as a tool for social critique. Introduction. Cinema often acts as a mirror of society, reflecting its values, conflicts, and inequalities. Beyond mere entertainment, film serves as a powerful tool for social commentary and critique, highlighting issues that affect communities and individuals. Indian cinema, in particular, frequently engage with themes such as caste and social hierarchies, class inequality, and economic disparity, politics and power dynamics, as well as culture and identity. Through storytelling, characters, and visuals, film explores these issues, encouraging audiences to reflect on societal norms and question injustice. Article 15, inspired by the true values, exposes caste-based discrimination and violence in rural India, show law and order uh, intend and with caste hierarchies and social critique, refer to Article 15 of the Indian Constitution, highlights the gap between constitutional deals and ground realities. Social themes in Article 15, caste operation. I explain in detail. Caste oppression in rural India in film portrays deep-rooted caste discrimination, where lower caste communities endure daily humiliation and violence, reflecting a long-standing system of social inequality. And the second point is police corruption and complicity. Law enforcement supports the dominant castes instead of ensuring justice using intimidation and suppression to protect the powerful and maintain caste hierarchies. And third point is privileged outsiders exposing injustices and educated urban officers as an outsider confronts caste realities and exposes hidden injustices, offering views as a lens into systematic inequalities. And fourth point is institutional failure in upholding equalities. In the despite constitutional promises, institutions like the police and politics still favor the powerful, revealing the gap between legal equalities and realities. Echoes of the oppression, comparing articles with 15, comparing Article 15 with real. In the Article 15, the reflect of the life caste the film's story closely resembles real cases marked by the caste bias, corrupt authorities, and barriers to justice. The involvement of police officers among the accused in the UP caste mirrors the film's theme of the institutional failures. Both show the fear and social pressures silence victims through the like are the Article 15s and exist weak enforcement exposes the gap between legal rights and ground reality. Here we can see that the in Article 15 rape case and here at the present time present time the rape case. Here are both the examples in this. In the Gully Boy, voice of the marginalized Gully Boy, Murad's journey, a slum boy with limited means but big dreams of becoming a rapper, hip hop resistance, rap becomes his weapon to challenge social inequality, poverty, and patriarchal restrictions and social critics. Exposes the urban class divide between rich elite and slum dwellers, highlights the lack of opportunities for the poor despite the talent, and show the struggle for self expressions in a rigid and unequal society. And social themes, class inequality, sharp contrast between slum life and luxury life of rich, cultural resistance, rap emerge as a voice of protest and identities, gender roles. Safina challenges patriarchal expectations and critique, highlights systematic barriers that limit mobility for the marginalized. And class inequality in Gully Boy and the NEET scam, merit or privilege. In the detail, both Gully Boy and the NEET scam show how the class inequality limits opportunities in India. Murad's talent struggles against poverty, while wealthy students exploit corruption to succeed. Merit alone isn't enough in a system favoring privilege. Murad's rap symbolizes resistance, just as the NEET scam highlights the frustration of handwork and hard-working students both reveal that social mobility depends more on birth and access than ability. And Jallikattu in origin based on as Hari's short story Moist. And the plot, Buffalo escapes, triggering chaos in a small Kerala village, and the symbolism reflects the human greed and uncontrolled violence and the mob frenzy. The social critics, in the social critic, the community descends into chaos and the primitive instincts, civilization stripped, exposing animalistic behavior and the toxic masculinity and male aggression drives destructions and in the social themes, violence and chaos shown as a natural and human society. And second, loss of the community and values, social bounds collapse increases. And third, is human versus animals. People appears more brutal than the buffalo. And fourth, the critic exposes the patriarchal aggression and destructive competition. And the collective actions in the rural India, Jallikattu and farmers struggle. In the both Jallikattu and Kisan Andolan depict the rural life, power struggles and collective actions. Jallikattu shows chaos, greed and masculine pride through villagers' customs, while Kisan Andolan highlights farmers' organized resistance and the fight for rights. In both crises reveal societal tensions and inequalities and human behaviors under pressures. And the comparative insights, the three films, Article 15, Gully Boy and the Jallikattu presents a different at interconnected social critiques. Article 15 exposes caste injustice through our socio-political and post-colonial lens, highlighting the gap between constitutional deals and the realities. Gully Boy focus on class struggle and youth resistance using a Marxist and a cultural lens to reveal systematic inequalities and the power of arts protest. Jallikattu, on the other hand, critiques human greed and chaos, adopting a symbolic and socio-political lens to show how primitive instincts overpower social order. Together, these films uncover deep societal fault lines, caste, class, and violence, urging audience to reflect on uncomfortable truths and questions the structures of power. In conclusion, Indian cinema serves as both a medium of awareness and resistance, using stories to hold a mirror to society. Films like Article 15, Gully Boy, and the Jallikattu may differ in a narrative and style, but they share a common purpose, confronting audiences with uncomfortable truths about caste, class, inequality, violence, and the human nature. By exposing hidden fault lines, these films challenges viewers to reflect on the societal realities and social realities and encourages dialogue for change. And the learning outcomes, understand how films mirror society and highlights inequalities and identity, social themes, caste in Article 15, class in Gully Boy, and greed, chaos in Jallikattu. Analyze the film using socio-political, Marxist, and symbolic lenses, and connect cinematic portrayals to real life societal issues, and appreciate storytelling as a tool for resistance and awareness, and develop skills in the interpreting visual symbolism and the narrative techniques. Here are my references, and thank you. Now we are free and ask question.
Use your time for questions. So answer in the comment. And within a minute after that, you have taken 2-3 more minutes.
Hello everyone, myself PARATHIV. My today's presentation topic is queering the anthropons, ecofeminist and Marxist intersections in global film narratives. Here is academic information, table of content, and my research question is how can global film narratives queer the anthropons by revealing intersection of ecological crisis, capitalism, and gender power structure. And my hypothesis is film that integrate eco-feminist, queer, and Marxist perspective provide the both critical reflection and imaginative alternatives to dominate anthropons narratives, highlighting vulnerabilities, intelligence, and post-capitalist possibilities. And the introduction, the framing the anthropons. The anthropons mark a human-centered epoch causing ecological destruction, climate crisis, and social inequalities. This is driven by capitalons for profit exploration and systematic injustice. A queer ecofeminist lens challenge assume hierarchies and binaries like human, non-human, or male, female, expose how these constructions sustain environmental and social harm. Interconnective highlights interconnectedness across the species, time, and disciplines, urging a historic, holistic understand of our enlightened world. Films can make these crises visible, showing how humans, nature, and social system are inseparably linked. Theoretical framework. This slide outline three critical lens of analyzing film in the anthropos, ecofeminism, and interconnectivitism reveal how humans are entangled with nature, dissolving binaries like subjects, objects, and economy, ecology, highlighting interdependent dependencies across the species. Queer theory theory beyond identity empathize the precarity, race, class, and fabulation, imaginative storytelling that challenge capitalist and colonial structures. The Marxist critic remind us that the class and material relationship underpin ecology crisis, and film must be examined for how capitalism commodifies bodies, labor, and identities. Together, these framework guide a holistic intersection film analysis. And anti-pastoral in film, queer anti-pastoral in film. The queer anti-pastoral challenge the idea of nature as idyllic, showing landscape filled with grief, despair, and alienation. Film like Calvary depict environmental decay alongside force or uneasy human interactions, creating what Clark calls an aphoretic ecological ethics. This approach push audience to rethink humans' nature and relationship and consider non-normative experience of environment by highlighting failure, tense, and enstragment. It offers a thematic lens for queering ecological narratives. Marxist perspective on queer eco-cinema. As Marxist lens show how capitalism co-opts decent identities, turning queerness into a commodity. Queer eco-cinema should reveal or resist these capitalist structure, especially in relation to ecological harm. For example, sorry to bother you, critique labor exploration, racial hierarchies, and capitalist greed while linking them to environmental degradation. The key question is how does the film expose the class and economic system driving ecological crisis? Lesbian ecofeminism, personal politics. Lesbian ecofeminism links the oppression of women with the exploration of nature, emphasize the solidarity and mutual respect. It promotes wildlife self-determination and sustainable living, encourage human to live with harmony with the environment. Films reflect this perspective, shows negotiation rather than dominance between human and nature, interacting as the equal partner, highlighting ecofeminist value. analytical lens applying theory to film. These slides show how to apply queer, eco-feminist and Marxist framework to film. Film can interconnect by depicting multi-species relationship, precising by highlighting vulnerability from the race, class or gender, and materializing by exposing capital-driven ecological human. Fabulation encourage imaginative post-capitalist future while translate user strategies like humor, dance, or science fiction to reach a global audience. These lanes reveal how cinema, queers, and anthropons. Key learning outcomes. By the end of this presentation, I and me and also you will understand the queer, eco-feminist, and Marxist interaction in film. Be able to identify anti-pastoral and intraconnective strategy in cinematic narratives, recognize how capitalism and ecological crisis are linked in filmic storytelling, appropriate fabulative storytelling as a tool for imagining post-capitalist, post-anthropocene future. And the future direction, what can be next step? This slide outlines where research on queering the anthropons in film can go next. Future work could expand the film corpus to include more cross-cultural examples, a study audience reception to see how queer and ecofeminist messages are interpreted, and integrate decolonial cinema by analyzing indigenous or non-Western narrative. It's also called for methodological reflection, considering production context, not just a textual analysis. The research could ask how queering the anthropons interaction with post-colonial ecological storytelling. For example, indigenous environment film. And this conclusion, queering the anthropons in film, revealing interconnected system of oppression, ecological harm, and capitalism. Film can visualize entangle agencies and post a capitalist future. Queer, eco-feminist, and Marxist lens offer critical tools for analysis and imagination. Global cinema function as a very finding tool towards the convenient, sustainable future. So this is from my side. This is our reference, and this is further reading reference. Thank you. If you have any question, feel free to ask.
My question is, how could you finding the influence real world ecological discourse or activism?
As per my research, that film can change how people see nature by showing queer and eco-feminist ideas. Movie can help us to think about environment in a frame connected and fair way. For example, Princess Monaco shows human and nature working together instead of human controlling everything, which can inspire people to care for the environment and act to protect it.
My question is that what do you hope audience or scholars will take away from the queering the Anthropocene through films?
I hope they seen. I hope they seen queering the anthropos open with the fresh way of understanding our relationship with environment, and it invites us to question fixed idea about nature, identity, and the power to imagine alternative, more just ecological future. Thank you.
So, good morning, everyone. Today's my topic is queering the digital body shaming, social media, and digital humanities. These are the academic information.
table of content, and introduction. So queer theory challenges normative understandings of gender and sexuality, emphasizing fluidity and resistance to fixed identities. Then digital humanities utilize the digital tools and methodologies to analyze culture and social phenomena, including the study of online behaviors and representations. So interactions, the both things explore how digital platforms perpetuate or challenge body norms, particularly affecting queer and gender non-conforming conforming individuals. So here are the research questions. How can queer theory help us understand body shaming as a social and cultural construct? And how can digital humanities tools like digital archives and data analysis be used to study and challenge body shaming online? And hypothesis is the study hypothesis that digital platforms amplify body shaming against queer and non-normative bodies, while queer theory reveals it as a socially constructed phenomenon. Digital humanities tools can identify these patterns and show how queer communities resist body shaming. Queer individuals also create digital interventions that challenge dominant body norms and promote inclusivity. So here is the queer theory and body normative. So queer theory interrogates the societal constructions of gender and sexuality norms, challenging the binary and fixed categories that often underpin body standards. By deconstructing these norms, queer theory offers a lens to understand how body shaming is not merely a personal issue but a social construct rooted in a power dynamics and cultural expectations. And digital humanities and embodied data. So, digital humanities employs computational tools to analyze cultural phenomena, including the representation of bodies in digital spaces. This approach allows for the examination of how digital platforms perpetuate or challenge body norms, providing insight into the intersection of technology, culture, and embodiment. So digital manifestations of body shaming. So social media algorithms and body norms. Platforms like Instagram and TikTok often prioritize content that aligns with mainstream beauty standards, marginalize diverse body types. These algorithmic bias can exacerbate body dissatisfaction among users, particularly within a queer communities. And queer representation in digital media. So while digital media has the potential to offer diverse representations, queer bodies are often subjected to fetishization or exclusion. The portrayal of queer bodies in digital spaces frequently reinforces stereotypes rather than celebrating diversity. Body image and mental health in LGBTQ plus communities. So body image concerns. Research show that LGBTQ plus individuals, especially gay and bisexual men, experience higher levels of body dissatisfaction compared to heterosexual peers. So social pressure to conform to idealized body standards like being a muscular, slim, or conventionally attractive, exhibit self-blame and low self-esteem. Platform like Instagram and TikTok often amplify this pressure through algorithmically promoted images of ideal bodies, making body dissatisfaction more visible and pervasive. So in the Snapchat, we can find that when we open that, so that is a this edit profile. So there is the avatar. So many of the selected the avatar is very fair and slim. So that kind of things people consider as the ideal bodies. Then internalized shame and mental health. So internalized shame occurs when individuals absorb societal stigma, leading to feeling of inadequacy, depression, and anxiety. For LGBTQ plus individuals, this is often compounded by discrimination, exclusion, and online harassment. Mental health issues are further intensified when queer bodies are fetishized, stereotypes, or excluded in a digital media spaces. So there is a lot of many comments on that, and so that is how people
people have a mental health issue and trauma and also. So public figures like Elliot Page sharing their experiences with body dysphoria helps raise awareness and foster supportive online communities, encouraging dialogue around mental health in queer spaces. Methodological approaches in studying queer bodies online. So, queer digital forensics. Queer digital forensics is a research methodology that examines digital traces such as a post, hashtags, comments, and multimedia content to understand how queer bodies and identities are represented and treated online. This approach goes beyond simply observing online behavior. It critically analyzes patterns of inclusion, exclusion, and marginalized in digital spaces. So by studying digital artifacts like a TikTok videos and Instagram posts or Twitter threads, researchers can uncover how queer identities are constructed, contested, and negotiated in online communities. For example, hashtag like trans body positive or queer body positivity can be analyzed to understand how queer individuals resist mainstream beauty norms and create supportive digital spaces. Then materializing data in feminist digital humanities. So this approach emphasizing the data is not neutral. It is embodied and involves both physical and emotional labor during collection and analysis. So feminist digital humanities advocate for methodologies that count for the lived experience of participants, particularly marginalized community like LGBTQ plus individuals, and whose digital presence is often subject to scrutiny and judgment. So, materializing data research acknowledge the effective dimension of online experience, such as anxiety from body shaming, joy from supportive communities, or empowerment through digital interventions. This methodology calls for ethical and inclusive practice, ensuring that research does not exploit or misrepresent queer bodies. So here's the project like queering the map and the digital transgender archive. Amplify this approach and they allow participants to document everything. Then creative interventions. So queer digital art and performance artists like Jack Elvis utilize digital technologies such as a deepfake and AI to create performances that challenge normative representation of queer bodies. These works offer alternative narratives and celebrate the fluidity of queer identities. And queer digital archives projects like the Digital Transgender Archive and Queer in the Map provide platforms for marginalized voices, allowing individuals to share personal experience and histories. These digital archives serve as a counter narratives to mainstream representations, fostering a more inclusive digital landscape. And here I conclude my presentation. So the intersection of queer theory and digital humanities shows that body shaming online is a systematic and cultural issue, not just a personal one. While digital spaces often reinforces narrow beauty and gender norms, queer digital resistance challenges these structures, promoting inclusion and self-acceptance. Queering the digital body thus becomes an empowering act and transforms shame into solidarity and visibility into resistance. So learning outcomes, understand how queer theory and digital humanity intersect to analyze online body politics and representation, identity, how social media algorithms and digital aesthetics perpetuate body shaming and marginalize queer bodies, evaluate the psychological and cultural impact of digital body norms on LGBTQ plus individuals, and recognize the ethical and inclusive research methodologies in studying queer digital spaces, and appreciate creative digital interventions such as queer art and archives that resist body shaming and promote diversity, and advocate for more equitable, transparent, and body positive digital environments. These are the references, and thank you so much. Now I'm open for your question.
My question is, how can digital humanities help preserve queer memory and history?
Digital humanities play a important role in this to select queer memory and history. There is the two projects like a queering the map and digital transgender archives to allow the queer people to document everything like their experience, their emotions, their struggle. So that is how future generation come to know that what kind of struggle they had in the past. So through this data, the future generation get an idea. So digital humanities, we can say that protect to this queer memory and history. So yes.
My question is, how does the pandemic period reshape our understanding of digital body shaming among queer youth?
Yes, pandemic period, we can say this COVID-19 in the lockdown period, most of the human beings are past their time in the various social platforms. So there is also the first the queer youth. That is how queer youth aware of that how their body represent front of everything. So by the TikTok videos and Instagram, uh, uh, they social platforms also they gave to the space for support and self expression. So queer youth also started the creating content and body content and share in the various social platforms. So yes, we can say that pandemic period reshape our understanding of digital body shaming among queer youth. So this is from my side. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone, myself DHRUVIKA GOHEL. Today I will be presenting on my topic is queer theory and postcolonial studies, hybridity and identity. These are my personal information. These are table of content. Uh, this is my research question. How do queer theory and postcolonial studies intersect in challenging fixed notions of identity and culture? And the hypothesis is postcolonial and queer theories converge in their rejection of essentialist identities of offering a more fueled understanding of selfhood. First is the introduction. Queer theory and postcolonial studies challenge dominant power structures that define and control identities through rigid norms of gender, sexuality, race, and cultural. While postcolonial studies critiques the cultural dominance of the West over colonized societies, queer theory questions the authority of heteronormative that marginalize non-conformity identities. Together, they deconstructs binary opposition such as colonizer, colonized, male, female, and normal, and Devon revealing that identity is not fixed or natural but socially constructed and fluid. Their shared aim is to give voice to marginalized perspective and promote more inclusive, hybrid, and dynamic understanding of self and cultural. What is queer theory? Queer theory emerged in the early 1990s from feminist and LGBTQ plus studies as a critique of fixed sexual and gender identities. It challenges heteronormative, the belief the heterosexuality is the natural or superior norm, and instead views identity as fluid and socially constructed. Influenced by thinkers like Judith Butler, Eve Sedgwick, and Michael Foucault, queer theory emphasized the performance of gender and sexuality, arguing that these are not innate traits but roles shaped by cultural language and power. What is postcolonial studies? Postcolonial studies examines the lasting effect of colonialism on cultural identity and literature. It explores how colonial power shaped a perception of race, language, and nations, often privileging Western ideals while marginalizing native voices.
Key thinkers such as Edward Said, Homi Bhabha, and Gayatri Spivak analyze issues of power, cultural dominations, and the creation of hybrid identities that blend colonizer and colonized influence. Its main goals to decolonize the mind by challenging Western representation and restoring agency to formerly colonized peoples and cultures. Interaction of queer and post-colonial theories. Queer theories and post-colonial studies intersects in their critique of Western dominance and universal norms, while post-colonial studies challenges cultural imperialism and the hierarchy between colonizer and colonized. Queer theory questions heteronormative and the imposition of fixed gender and sexual roles. Together, they expose how colonialism not only controlled race and cultural but also shaped ideas of sexuality and gender, revealing the both identity and desires are influenced by historical and political power structures. Next is hybridity and identity. Hybridity and identity highlights that identities are mixed and ever changing. Homi Bhabha's concept of hybridity shows how colonized people form new in between identities, while queer theory adds that gender and sexuality are also fluid. Both reveal identity are constructed and unstable rather than fixed. Uh, Next is queer post-colonial identities. Queer post-colonial identities examines how colonial power imposed rigid gender and sexual norms on colonized societies that once accepted fluid identities. Pre-colonial culture often recognized diverse genders and sexualities, such as the Hijra in India or two-spirit people in culturals. Colonial laws like Section 377 enforce Western heterosexual norms. Today, queer post-colonial movement aim to reclaim this indigenous, inclusive expression of identity and racist colonial and heteronormative control. Next is a literary connection. The literary works explore how identity is shaped by both colonial history and gender or sexual norms. In Wide Surrogacy, Jean Rice shows Antoinette struggles with racial and gender identity under colonial influence. Salman Rushdie's Midnight Children portrays a fragmented post-colonial identity through Salim's life, mirroring India's own divided self. Sham Salvadri Funny Boy explores a queer boy's journey amid Sri Lanka's cultural tension. And Arundhati Roy's The Mystery of Utmost Happiness highlight the marginalized voices blending caste, gender, and sexuality to show the complexity of hybridity identities. These are my conclusion. Queer and post-colonial theories, both challenging rigid, imposed categories of identity, emphasizing fluidity, hybridity, and resistance. By questioning fixed notions of gender, sexuality, and cultural, they promote a more inclusive understanding of the self and society. Hybridity, in particular, emerge as a powerful space of empowerment, allowing individuals and communities to resist both colonial legacies and heteronormative oppression and to reclaim identities that were historically marginalized or suppressed. These are my references. Thank you. Now you feel free to ask a question.
So Dhruvika, my question is why is the idea of hybridity important in both queer and post-colonial theories?
Hybridity reject fixed identities, showing how cultural genders and sexuality bind and evolve beyond rigid boundaries. So that is hybridity important in both queer and post-colonial theories. Next question.
Dhruvika, my question is, how does queer theory expand the scope of